Greetings, 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 greetings. Grand rising to all. This is your brother Chief Kalanago Flying Eagle. Wago on. We're about to get into a little something, something, something. Let me make sure I have audio on Facebook. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. How is everybody doing, man? Hope you had a happy sunrise and you're looking forward to this amazing sunrise, right? It's a new continuation. Well, it's not new because life is ongoing, but it's definitely a beautiful Sunday. All right. Anyway, I'm about to get into this video, and as you could see, the title of this video says, to all you slave masters, well, to all you slave catchers and masters. I'm gonna break down a few things here for y'all. And like I said before, man, I'm only here to teach. I'm only here to enlighten. I'm only here to give you the truth. Now, you do what you want with it. I ain't got nothing to do with with what you do with the information, right? But you could never say you didn't know. You see, too many people are seeking freedom, but they don't know what freedom really means. You dig what I'm saying? Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Secret balance. All right. Good to have you here, man. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate the acknowledgement. But like I tell people, um, the universal God sent me here to do this work. You feel me? And freedom is not free, man. That's why it's called freedom. You want to be free, you can't be dumb at the same time. It's contradictory. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? But with that being said, I'm here to give y'all some truth, some spiritual truth. Like I said, do what you want with the information, but you can't say you didn't know. Ignorance is only bliss to the extent when you don't know. But when you know and you choose to live in ignorance, then it becomes stupidity. You feel me? So I encourage you not to be stupid. You know, do your own due diligence, do your research. Don't believe anything that I say because I'm not here to give you any type of fairy tales. I'm here to give you the facts. You see, too many people would have achieved that. You see, too many people. How would I put it? And I want to remain respectful because that's just how I was raised, right? But a lot of people are seeking freedom, okay, or their sovereignty, and they think their sovereignty comes in a piece of paper. A lot of people hit me up, hey chief, I want to do this paperwork, I want to do this, and I want to do that. Well, allow me to enlighten you, my brothers and sisters, right? If you're not free spiritually, I don't care what kind of paper you send to the government. I don't care what kind of paper you send to the Pope. I don't care what kind of paper you send to the Queen of England or the King of England. I don't care what paper you send them. If you are enslaved spiritually, then your body is enslaved. And when they talk about perpetual slavery, they're not talking about when they're talking about perpetual slavery, they're not talking about physical slavery. They're talking about spiritual slavery. You dig? I'm going to repeat that. When they talked about slavery, they're talking about perpetual slavery, as in the slavery the Lord God in the Bible said that people were to be enslaved perpetually. That's what they're talking about. You feel me? So when we go into the Dum Diversus, the Magna Carta, the Black Christian codes, all these things are not necessarily talking about physical slavery. They're talking about your spiritual enslavement, and due to your spiritual enslavement, then the physical body will be enslaved. Have you heard the saying that wherever the mind goes, the body follows? That's powerful because once they control your mind, they control your body. So first you have to free your mind, and your mind deals with the spirit. And if you cannot free your mind, then your body will be enslaved. You dig? So what's up, Sister Lisa, Sister Salima, what it is, what it is, what it is, goddess. All right, now check this out. Let us get into the root of words, right? We have to get into the root of words. So I'm going to show you where the term black came from, and I'm going to show you where the term Negro came from. I'm going to the foundation, the root, to show you that slavery is a choice. Okay, slavery is a choice. You are the one enslaving yourself because of your words. In the beginning was the word. and the word was with God. Who is God? God is you. All right. And the word became God. In other words, the word became flesh. We manifest ourselves through speaking. We said, let there be, and there was. But they got you thinking something else outside of you is the God, and that's the problem. You feel me? So you are the one enslaving yourself with your own words. The power of life and death is in the tongue. You feel me? All right. So let us get into this real quick, and I'm going to share my screen. And I put a little something together for y'all, right? Nothing long, just giving you the facts, and you do what you want with the facts, right? And I'm going to call out a few of the slave catchers for y'all. I'm not afraid to call their names because that's what they're doing. They're slave catchers. And I'm going to expose a few of them. So let me go ahead and share my screen and get into this. All right. And please do your own research. Do your own due diligence, man. Don't say, well, Chief is the one saying that. No. Do your own research, please. All right. Which one do I have here? I think. Let me go ahead and see if I could find that for you. Let me see if that's it right here. Yes, I put a little something together for y'all, right? So let's go ahead and read this. Okay. Creation of the word Negro compiled by Chief Kalinago. That's just, just a little something I put together for y'all. One page, nothing major. All right. So let's read, right? The name that you respond to determines the amount of your self-worth or your identity, right? Similarly, the way a group of people collectively respond to a name can have devastating effects on their lives, particularly if they did not choose the name. Asians come from Asia and have pride in the Asian race. Europeans came from Europe and have pride in the European accomplishment and their race. Now, when we speak of Europeans, first we have to identify the original Europeans as people of color. All right, we're talking about humans, Hueman. Those were the original Europeans. Then they created a home for their pale-skinned children, which are the humans, Human, right? So mankind created a home for their children. Man created a home for the children, mankind, in Europe. So we have two sets of Europeans. We have the original European, which are the people of color, and then we have the colorless European, the so-called pale man, the people you may call white, but they're not white. They're pale people and they're colorless people. All right. Now, when we have Negroes, I assume to come from Negro land, a mythical country with an uncertain past and an even more uncertain future. Because you see, Negro land was a construct that was created in the mind. You feel me? Those terms and our people only exist in a fairy tale land. So there was no organic place on earth called Negro land until it was created that way. All right? It was created that way because when we get into what Negro really means, then we'll see that it came from a fiction. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay? It's a mythical place. It's a mythical country. All right? As in Harry Potter. Now, since Negro land is a myth, where did the myth of Negro originate? The key to understanding what a Negro is to understand the definition of that word and its origin. So I'm going to bring you from the origin of the word Negro to what our people are calling themselves Black today. And you will see that they are the ones enslaving themselves. And I'm going to prove it to you. The word Negro is Spanish for black. Okay? The word Negro is Spanish for black. Negro means black in Spanish. All right? So we're dealing with a supposed color. So Negro is a color. So how can a color be a race? That's number one. The Spanish language comes from Latin, okay, which has its origin in classical Greek. The word Negro in Greek is derived from the word what we call necro, meaning dead. My brothers and sisters, you perish for the lack of knowledge. And when people such as myself teach you the truth, you look at us like we're the enemy. You look at us like we're the ones who are not proud to be black. You are absolutely correct. I'm not proud to be something I'm not. You feel me? First of all, how can a color be a race? And that goes far beyond ignorance. It becomes stupidity. You feel me? So I'm going to repeat that again, and I'm going to show you the proof. The word Negro, it comes from the word, the word Negro in Spanish is black, negro, just like negres. So a Negro is supposedly male, negres is supposedly female, right? The Spanish language comes from Latin, which is a fact, which has its origin. Latin has its origin in classical Greek. They are all connected languages linguistically, okay? The word Negro in Greek is derived from the root word nekro, meaning dead. So there you have it. The Negro, a race of dead people with a dead history and no hope for resurrection as long as they remain ignorant of their past. This was a triple death: the death of the mind, the body, and the spirit, and also the soul, which I did not put in there, of colored people all over the world. Copper colored. Now, copper colored is not a race. That is just your physical tone and complexion, the description of your complexion. Okay, there's no such thing as a black person. Okay, you have copper colored people. In other words, Adam. Adam means red. Okay, so that's what it means. And you have different tones or shades of red, from a very light tint to a red bone to what we call as a dark brown, a brunette, what people tend to call black, but that's not black. Okay? Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. I ended it with that. All right? Let us proceed. Let us go here now. Let us go look at, give me 1 second, in dictionary.com, Negro, origin, all right? Necro. Let's look at it again. I'm going to give you the proof from the dictionary now, all right? Let's go into the dictionary. Because like I said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge, man. When you teach them, they get emotional and they want to fight you because they are so proud of being dead, okay? And videos such as mine, they will consider it, oh, you're violating the terms and conditions because I'm teaching you the truth, right? Let us go here. What does it say? All the way to the top, dictionary.com, boom. Necro, a combination, a combining form meaning dead, a corpse, dead tissue used in the formation of compound words. Necrology, that's what it means, a dead, a corpse. Just like a mortgage. Mortgage means dead pledge. So when you call yourself a Negro, you're identifying as black, which is literally dead tissue, a corpse. Okay? Let us go down some more. Let me go all the way down. Here we have it again. All right? Origin, Greek, necro, combining from Greekos, which is Negro, dead person, a dead corpse, dead. So my brothers and sisters, like I said, I did not have to make this video long to show you this point right here, right? Necro is a combining form used like the prefix variously, meaning the dead, the corpse, or dead tissue. It is used in technical and scientific terms, including in biology and medicine. Necro comes from the Greek words nekros, meaning dead person, corpse, or death. Similarly, meaning and used to necro is the common combining thanato from the Greek thanatos, death. Okay, death. Let's stop sharing that. Let us go see what Negro means in Spanish. What does Negro mean in Spanish? Here we go. Negro in Spanish equals black. Okay? Black. So you see where that word black came from? It came from the word Negro. Where did the word Negro come from? It came from necro, necros, which means dead. All right? Now, let me show it to you what it means in today's legal system, which I've already shown you, but I'm going to show it to you again for the purpose of this video. Black means dead in law. Here we go. You see? I didn't force Google to give you the truth. What does it say? Black means dead in law. In Google, what came up? Saliviter matus, What does silivatimatus means in the legal system? Dead in the view of the law, the condition of one who has lost his civil rights and capacities and is accounted dead in law. You were not the people who were called dead. You were not the people who were called black. Okay, black means pale. Pale people were the ones who were dead in law. Okay, and the civil rights was not about attacking us, copper-colored Americans. It wasn't. We were the ones who took up the plight of the pale man and made it ours. But the original civil rights was about the pale people, because why? The so-called black nobility that came from Europe in the 1400s, they were Negroes, black devils that came here, raped our people, pillaged from our people, and took our land. Okay? And then they turned it over to their pale children. But even they gave it to, before they gave it to their pale children were fighting for civil rights. Okay? For civil rights. While our people were still being called American Indians. You feel me? So, with that being said, when you call yourself black, okay? When you call yourself black, you are identifying as a Negro. A Negro is a person who's dead in law, and it went back all the way into Greco-Roman empires. Black today is just another form of the Negro, which is actually dead, a corpse. So whenever the police see you and they call you black, what are they saying on the radio? They're saying that a dead man is walking. Okay? A dead man is walking. That's what it means. That's why they could get away with what they do to you, because you're already dead. But my brothers and sisters, how much more can I teach you these things without you getting into your emotions and attack me and tell me I'm not proud to be black? Well, what part of my skin is black? You could go into any part of the world and find the person with the darkest hue. That person is still not black. Okay, that's a variation of copper. And in fact, you know what? Give me 1 second here. All right? Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I could find something for y'all. Because like I tell people, when I'm talking, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here, brothers and sisters. Hold on for 1 second. I'm trying to find something here for y'all. Okay. Let me just show you what we are made of. Okay. Let me just show you what we are made of. All the things that we have in our bio makeup. Let me show it to you real quick. Yes. Greetings. I'm going to call you back. I'm doing a live video. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and share something with y'all, because my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Okay. Here we are. Okay, my brothers and sisters, let me show you some of the elements that we already have in us, right? Because we are, everything that's within the cosmos is actually within us. All right. Let me go ahead and share this with y'all real quick, man. Here we are. Okay. Let me just bring that up some more. Okay. We are talking about metals. All right. That has the highest conductivity of electricity. Number one is silver, but we also have silver in us. Okay, we also have that in us. But guess what's number two? Let's read this here for a second. Silver, the single most conductive metal. Silver conducts heat and electricity efficiently thanks to the unique crystal structure and single valence electron. Silver offers low contact, wear resistance, and excellent optical reflectivity, making it ideal for coating contacts, mirrors, and conductors in telecom applications. However, silver coating also tarnish easily, which is why they are used less often than copper and gold. So even if silver is a high conduct of electricity, it tarnishes very fastly. That's why they go to what? Copper and gold. So who are the golden people? Who are the copper people? We are. Number two, like silver, copper single valence electron makes it a highly conductive metal. It also offers good corrosion resistance, right? Okay. Copper coating finds use in semiconductors, printed circuit boards, and other applications in which electrical conductivity is important. Then the next one is gold. Gold, gold's high conductivity combines with its corrosion resistance, where resistance and stable contact resistance make it ideal for coating semiconductors. The bottom line, what I'm saying is this: because we are a golden race, a copper colored race, right? That's why you hear them say sometimes black don't crack. Black do crack. It's copper and gold that don't crack. It does not corrode. It does not get tarnished. You feel me? There's a difference between black and copper. Copper is pale, and copper, I mean, not copper, black is pale, and black does tarnish. You feel me? But the point I'm making is copper is one of the highest electrical conductors that does not erode. That's what's within our biological makeup. That's why we are called copper colored races. Okay, the copper colored race. It doesn't matter where you were at. You know, you could be in Africa, you could be in Asia, you could be in Europe. All people that have the color that we have, I'm talking about bronze, gold, you know, cinnamon, cocoa, chocolate. We are copper colored people in terms of complexion, not race. Okay, not race. You have different races, but you only have, in terms of the skin tone, color, okay, it is copper. And then you have different shades of copper. That's all it is. Okay. So even if you were to still identify yourself as a color, it would be copper, right? But copper is not a race. We have to dive deeper into what your racial category is. For us in the Americas, American is a race. Okay? American is a race. America is not just a continent. America is a race. American is a race. So if you are an American Aboriginal, aka American Indian, aka your ancestors have always been in the America, and you call yourself African American or Black, you are actually an American. We are the only ones who have the right spiritually, through our birthright, through our inheritance, and lawfully to call ourselves American and nobody else. Everybody else is a foreigner. Everybody else, until the United States was established, is a United States citizen. There's a difference between an American and a United States citizen. Okay? What happened to us was, it was called trading places. How can I prove that? Which I've already shown you guys this, but I'm going to show it again for the purpose of this video. Let's go into the Noah Webster 28 dictionary and let us look at the definition of American. You will see that American is a distinct people. Here we are. I'm going to share this with you. All right. Just to kind of solidify my point. All right. Give me 1 second. Share this and see who an American is. Here we have it. Here we have it. American, okay? A noun, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or who? Copper-colored races, the same thing as the golden races, right? The copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. Now, Europeans, once again, like I said before, Europeans could be also copper-colored, or Europeans could be the pale man. The original Europeans were copper-colored, and they created a home for their pale children in Europe. But now it's applied to what? The descendants of Europeans born in America, whether they are copper colored or they are pale. And when we talk about the copper colored, we are talking about the Israelites, which are the Hebrews, and the Moors, and the Moors, or what you call the blackamoors. They're the same thing, the Moabites. Okay, so back in the biblical times, the Israelites and the Moors were beefing with each other based on the command of their gods. Okay, their gods forbade the Israelites from dealing with the Moabites. Their Lord God forbade them. Jehovah, Yahweh forbade them from dealing with or mixing with the Moabites, because they said that the Moabites, false gods, sacrificing their children, from Lot, homosexuality, all type of immorality, and all these different things, right? So they were forbidden from mixing with the Moabites. But when they went to war and the Israelites defeated the Moabites, okay, and they made the Moors their slaves, and they expelled a lot of them, right? So therefore, they joined with the Israelites and the Hebrews, the Sephardic Jews, and they came into the Americas. A lot of them were called Melanesians. All right. They came in. That's when they came into the Americas. They teamed up, joined together to come into the Americas. It were people who looked just like us, to do the same thing that they were doing in Europe and in Africa, enslaving, pillaging, raping, murdering in the name of their gods. Okay. Now, going back into the whole concept of what you call Negro, it were actually Europeans, all right, who started calling a certain demographic of Africans Negroes, even if they were all people of color, but they had a specific group they called the Negroes, and they were enslaving them. So Negro became synonymous with slave, and slave became synonymous with black. So anytime you call yourself a black person, automatically you are viewed in the system as a slave. As a slave. You feel me? So even when the Moors came here into the Americas, they had what's called the Moors Sundry Act in 1790, all right, where they did not even want to be called Negroes. They wanted to separate themselves from the Negro because they thought that the Negro was a slave, all right? Let me see if I can pull that up for y'all. Like I tell people, everything that I talk about, I could prove it, all right? Of 1790. Let us read on that a little bit, right? What does it say here? The Moors Sundry Act of 1790, advisory resolution passed by the South Carolina House of Representatives, clarifying the status of the free subjects of Sultan of Morocco, Mohammed bin Abdullah. The resolution offered the opinion that the free citizens of Morocco were not subject to laws governing blacks and slaves. So therefore, the Moors, they were detaching themselves from the term black and slave, which is the same thing as Negroes. You feel me? When the truth of the matter is, even the word Moor describes a black-skinned person. You feel me? All right. So that's what the Moors Sundry Act was about. You feel me? All right then. Let us read here for a second. What does it say? On January 20th, 1790, a petition was presented to the South Carolina House of Representatives from a group of 4 individuals who were subjects of the Moroccan Empire and resides of the state. They decide that if they happen to commit any fault amenable to be brought to justice, that are subjects of a prince allied with the United States through the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship, they could be tried as citizens instead of under the Negro Act of what we call 1740, right? So let me just break that down for y'all, right? The American Treaty of Peace and Friendship with Morocco is the longest standing treaty between the United States and any other country. Morocco was the first country that identified the United States as a nation, right? So it goes to show you that the United States and the Moors were working together to enslave people, the American Aborigines, okay? All right, so we already established that Moors are not American Aboriginals. Don't let them fool you with that nonsense. That's a bunch of nonsense, Okay, we're not Israelites either. That's a bunch of nonsense too, because that was created by the Catholic Church. But that's a whole nother story, which I already broke down. All right. So as you could see, all right. So they would instead, if they committed a crime, they would not. They don't want to be tried under what's called as citizens instead of under the Negro Act of 1740. What is the Negro Act of 1740? The Negro Act of 1740 was passed in the province of South Carolina on May 10th, 1740, during the colonial governor William Ball's time office in response to the Stonto Rebellion in 1739. Let us continue reading. The free Moors, okay, that's what you were calling freedmen. All right, people don't comprehend what freedmen meant. Freedmen actually meant it was the people who came from Europe, the black people, so-called black people who came from Europe that were here either as indentured servants or slaves, all right, but they were here, okay, and they got their freedom. So those were the freedmen. The freedmen were not American Indians. We were still being called American Indians when they were freedmen, all right, but a lot of our people sold their birthright and wanted to be called white. At that time, white did not have anything to do with complexion. White was actually a status, which it still is today. All right. So the free Moors, Francis Daniel, Hammond, and Samuel petitioned on behalf of themselves and their wives Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clarinda. They explained how some years ago, while fighting in defense of their country, they and their wives were captured and made prisoners of war by an African king. Okay, so as you could see, it were literally people of color enslaving their own people. That's what they were doing across the seas. You feel me? That's what they were doing across the seas. After this, a certain Captain Clark had them delivered to him, promising they would be redeemed by the Moroccan ambassador residing in England and returned to their country. So as you could see, Morocco, Britain, and the United States, they were all working together enslaving people of color and also pale people around the world, right? But how the Moors got involved is when they lost the war against Queen Isabella and Ferdinand, which are actually mulattoes. You know, they were children of Moors, Jews, and pale women. They're concubines, right? That's who they were. They fought against their own fathers to gain their independence, and they actually started expelling them. Okay, the Sephardic Jews and the Moors, they were expelling them from Spain. Okay, but a lot of them became prisoners of war, and they made a deal to work with the crown. Okay, and that's how a lot of them end up coming into the Americas, not just as indentured servants, but also as conquistadors, helpers. All right. So instead, he transported them to South Carolina and sold them for slaves. Okay, and sold them for slaves. So, like I was telling people, a lot of the people that came here in the 1600s, that so-called they did not come from Africa. They came from Britain. They came from Europe. All right, they were Blackamoors and they were Hebrew Israelites. Okay, they were Jacobites. Since then, by the greatest industry, they purchased freedom from their respective masters. They requested that as free-born subjects of Prince in alliance, again, here goes the word, in alliance with the United States, that they should not be considered subject to a state law, then in force, known as the Negro Law. Remember what Negro meant? Negro meant dead in law. So they had a dead in law, okay, just like Salivity Matus, meaning black, that they should not be considered subject to state law, known as the Negro Law. If they were found guilty of any crime or a misdemeanor, they would receive a fair trial by law or jury. The matter was referred to as a committee consisting of Justice John Furcherod, General, blah, 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 blah. All right. Free Moors Petition Committee report. And they gave the report right here. Edward Rutledge reported from the committee on petition on the same day, and the House agreed the report, which is read as follows. They have considered the same and are of opinion that no law or this state can in its constitutional operation applied to them, and that persons who were subjects of the Emperor of Morocco, being free in this state, are not triable by the law of the better ordering and governing of what Negroes and other slaves. Because the report was not forwarded to the state senate for the concurrence, it did not have the force but law, but served as an advisory opinion offering the sense of house. The report was later published in the Charleston City Gazette and the Charleston State Gazette of South Carolina. Okay, so I'm just giving you a little history on all of that. Once again, to show you and prove to you that the Moors are not American Aborigines. Okay? They were not, and they are not. Just like how we are not Israelites. We are not. That is not us. I don't care what tribe you call it, the tribe of Dan, the tribe of Ram, the tribe of Pan. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That ain't got nothing to do with us. Because once again, the world they were talking about were literally the world that was described by Herodotus in the map 450 BC, which comprised of Libya, Europe, and Asia. It had nothing to do with the Americans. Nothing whatsoever. It was only that world that was known at that time. And I've shown this before, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show it again. All right, the Herodotus map of 450 BC, because I like to show proof of the things that I teach. Okay? So all this stuff about their Bible and all this stuff, it ain't got nothing to do with us. It had nothing to do with us. It was only later that Canada became code word for Canaan. Okay? But that was later down, just like how they created the New Jerusalem. Okay? So everything was new. Canada was considered the new Canaan. All right? Let me go ahead and show you what the world was at that time. So when they speak of their God and all that stuff that's happening in their Bible with their God, it was not a universal earth. It was just the earth and the world that was known at that particular time. And this is a map that Herodotus drew, okay, in 450 BC. What does it say? Europe, Libya, and Asia. At that time, it was not called Africa, but it was called Libya. And it comprised also of what's called the Ethiops or the Ethiopians. All right. So the Ethiopians were actually part of Libya. So they were part of the Libyan Empire, if I may. Okay. And like I told y'all before it was even called Ethiopia, it was called Abyssinia. So Ethiopia means also dark or black. So those were what I call institutionalized terms that were created to enslave indigenous people. Even the word Ethiopia is an enslavement tool because it means black. It means dark skin. That's what it means. Okay, they're all terms of what we call enslavement created by governments. Okay, I'm gonna give you another example. Take, for instance, Dominica. The indigenous name for Dominica is Weti Kubuli, right? But when Christopher Columbus supposedly discovered it on a Sunday, he called it Domingo, which means Dominica, right? Dominica is an enslavement state because the name is not indigenous. It is a nation state, so therefore it is literally a state of slaves. You did. Just like Ethiopia, the name Ethiopia is a state of slaves. So when you talk about the Ethiopian Bible being the original Bible, I agree. It is the original Bible of enslavement. That's why it's not called the Abyssinia Holy Bible. It's called the Ethiopian Holy Bible because it was created by a nation state, a government. Like I said, man, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And all I could do is just give you the information and you do what you want with it. That's on you. I'm giving you the facts. So when you have people like Umar Johnson, Roland Martin, Boyce Watkins, all those people are slave catchers. They are slave catchers because they are enslaving people for the system. That's why they have to continuously call you black. They have to keep pushing black, black, black. You think they don't know what it means? They know that black is not a race. They know that black is not a nationality. They know this. But they are literally working for the system and you don't know it. You feel me? They don't know it, making you think they hate pale people. They don't hate pale people. They don't hate pale people. And I'm not saying you're supposed to hate people. That's not, you're supposed to hate pale people. I'm talking about based on the way they talk and what they teach. You would think that they have a strong hate for people that are not people of color. No, they are working for them. They are working for them. All right? They're just pretending. That's why they have to keep pushing you black, you black, you black. They're literally pounding in your head that you are dead and you're proud to be dead. That is the sad part about it. Dead people have no rights. And that's a fact. So at this point, if you were to ask, well, Chief, well, what should I identify myself as? Well, number one, you're not a color. If somebody asks you, and it's anybody who calls you black, take a piece of a black piece of material, or normally the case of your phone is black. Ask them what color is that. They're going to tell you black. Now point at your skin and ask them what color it is. And because a lot of them are so indoctrinated, some of them will probably still say black. But then what you do now, get a penny or get a brown piece of paper, ask them what color is that. When they say brown, now put it next to your skin and say, what color am I? You will force them to say brown. You feel me? And here's the funny thing, right? When you have children and you're teaching your children colors, do you point at yourself when it comes to the word black? Why don't you do that? Why don't you point to your children when it's time for the word black and point to yourself and say that's black? Now you see how stupid and ignorant that sound? Because people don't do that. Because why? They are not black. People are only calling themselves black because of indoctrination. And the system love it because why? You are the one saying, well, hey, you know what? I am a slave and I'm proud to be a slave. And then all your celebrities, they're getting paid. They're getting paid to keep you in a state of enslavement. That's what religion was created for. You feel me? The churches were the enslavement, the trap house. That's what the churches were. That's what the churches were. And I've said this before. Why do you think the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, the Church of Latter-day Saints, why do you think they have the biggest database of ancestry? Why do you think so? Because they were also the ones that were taking part in the censuses, all right, where the Bible, all the Bibles in the churches, that information was handed over to them because they all set up the system, the NAACP, okay, all those systems were set up by the pale people. And the people who control the pale people are the black nobility, people of color. The truth is stranger than fiction, my brothers and sisters. All right? Umar Johnson is a slave catcher. He is a slave catcher. He have no love for indigenous people. He have no respect for indigenous people. All right? He only promote dead people. That's what he promotes. And y'all are falling for it. You feel me? Anyone who calls you black is calling you a slave. Anyone who calls you a Negro is calling you a slave. Anyone who calls you African American is calling you a slave if you are not. Okay? There's no such thing as African American. Even if you are actually from the continent of Africa, Africa have countries. So don't let anybody fool you, man. So simply put, if your ancestors have always been in the Americas, then you are American. We don't even have to call ourselves American Indian. We are the only ones, like I said, that have the spiritual right, by birthright and inheritance, and lawfully to call ourselves American. Nobody else. And I don't see why we can't unite and have everybody pay for putting the name American on anything that they have. American Eagle, American this, all of them should be paying us. Okay? You want compensation? You want redress? We have to do it as Americans. We have to do it as Americans. Not as no damn black or from the diaspora, or that's a bunch of nonsense. And guess what? The people who are actually in the continent called Africa right now, they're not even Africans. Like I said before, the majority of them came from Asia and the Americas. That's what Africa is. For y'all, for those of you who don't know. So it's not that we can't win. We just have to unite, man. You know what I'm saying? We just have to unite. That's all it is, unity. And it doesn't have to take a whole lot of us. Unity. We don't have to claim we came from Africa on slave ships, because we did not. But we could still sue and get redress for being enslaved in our own lands, prisoners of war. And they got all the documents. All we have to do is subpoena them. Okay? Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. Okay? All we have to do is Oprah them. That's all we got to do. And we get all these documents. And yes, we have been enslaved in our own land. That's how we get redress. Because anytime you get reparations as an African, when you get your reparations, the United States have a right to kick you out of the United States because you got paid. You see, y'all don't know what y'all asking for. You don't know what you're asking for. First of all, your the slave masters already got paid. They already got paid because they had insurance. It was only the people who were indentured and enslaved, they did not get redress. But as American Aborigines, the original Americans, we have a right to get redress. And we don't have to prove we came from slave ships, because we didn't. No, they can't prove that. You see, we have to put the burden of proof on them. Prove to us we came from Africa. I promise you, they cannot do that. When anybody is making a claim, okay, we have to put the burden of proof on them. We know who we are. Now it's up to you to prove that we are not who we say we are. You feel me? And we could also bring a lawsuit against these Native Americans. But I don't know if y'all ready for this, because y'all too busy fighting each other. Y'all too busy on the internet playing games and getting caught up in the distractions. Why do you think they have to keep giving you the distractions? You want to sit up all day and smoke weed and cloud your thirst eye, which is your pineal gland. You're clouding your pineal gland, smoking all day, thinking it's going to help you ascend. No, it don't. Smoke is a ghost. You feel me? And it's attacking your pineal gland. Everything that's not good for you, they make it legal. Now, I'm not saying you can't drink it as a tea, but smoking all day thinking, oh, well, you know, I'm conscious. No, you're not conscious, man. You're consciously dead. Smoke is a demon. And if you abuse it, it becomes a bigger demon. You see, those things are supposed to be done through rituals. Anytime it deals with smoke, you feel me? But that's what a lot of y'all want to do, man. Just smoke your life away, drink your life away. I mean, that's crazy. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off topic. You dig? But I just wanted to get into the root and the foundation of the word Negro. And Negro, from Negro, the word Negro in Spanish, negro, is actually black. And I took you all the way back to prove to you and show you that even the word Negro came from, it meant necro in Greek, all right? And it meant dead, a corpse, all right? A corpse. So my brothers and sisters, why would you want to be that? Why would you want to be that? I'm just asking a very sincere question. Why would you be proud? In fact, even if it wasn't that, why would you be proud of just being a color? What is your nationality? And I hear Moors talking about, oh, well, Moor is not a nationality. It is not. Moor is not a nationality. What land or country is called Moor? Nationality deal with nations. Moorish is not a nationality. Anytime you add suffix, anytime you add the suffix ish to a word, it becomes like blackish, kind of black, kind of more. So what are you, a kind of more? Stop the nonsense, man. Stop it. Y'all got to stop with the nonsense and the lies. Stop indoctrinating our people, man. We know what y'all did. I could pull your history all the way from the Bible. I know exactly who you are because you claim to be the Moabites. That's your claim. And your lineage came from Lot sleeping with his daughters. Okay? That's your lineage. And then y'all and the Jacobites, which are the Hebrews and the Israelites, the avalanche of your nobility, you guys were the ones who came here into the Americas, destroying our people and doing exactly what your Lord God said to do in your Bible. Take people's lands. And y'all started fighting each other, planting your flags and talking about, oh, well, this flag be, no, it's not. It's a conqueror's flag. So there's no way, it's impossible for you to call yourself an American Aborigine and have a Moorish flag. You are disrespecting our ancestors. That alone in itself show me that you're lost. So I don't know how much of the truth y'all can handle, but I just gave it to you. Do what you want with it. All right. Do what, and there will always be animosity. There'll always be some type of hatred. You know why? Because that was just what it was. Until we come to the table and speak the truth, you feel me? And speak the truth, admit the truth, and comprehend this. Yeah, it doesn't matter, what part of the world that you're from. As long as you're a couple colored, you know what I mean? We could have a conversation. Yes, I am copper colored, but my people are from Africa. Yes, I am copper colored, but my people are from Europe. Yes, I am copper colored, but my people are from Asia. Yes, you guys are copper colored and you are the Americans. Speak the truth. We know who we are. We know we are the Americans. But you cannot be an Aboriginal and say you're European at the same time. You cannot be Aboriginal and say you're African at the same time. No, you cannot do that. You can't. Because you are still, up to this present day, still trying to steal our birthright and making us think that we're something else. And only the ignorant will actually fall for that because it sounds good. But the United States know the difference. They know the difference. They know that Moors aren't the original indigenous people of the land. They know this. So they will not give you the respect as that. But you try to pull our people to join you to fight your pale children. You see, that was the whole trick. People don't get that. That's why these Moors were pushing, we all Moors, so we could help them fight their pale children. We're not going to do that. Your war with your children ain't got nothing to do with us. That is you and your children's business. They are the ones that's not honoring their mothers and fathers. Well, they're honoring their mothers, but not their fathers. You feel me? You were the ones who took them as concubines. It was through you that they got to be royalty. You did. Because they were they were your children. So don't try to get us to fight your children because you can't control them. We ain't got nothing to do with that, man. No, I'm not going to sit here and say a lot of my ancestors did not sell out. A lot of our ancestors sold us out. You feel me? Because it became a thing of commerce. And like I told y'all before, Pocahontas was not kidnapped. Pocahontas was taken to England as a covenant at the age of 13 to marry, in other words, to sell Virginia, okay, to the Britons. So she was not kidnapped. It was a covenant. It was a trade. It was a treaty. And all these men of Europe, okay, Be it the Sephardic Jews, the Moors, the black Moors, they all the same. They were the ones marrying children as young as 11 and 12, young girls. You feel me? Especially if their family had land or their family had some type of nobility. These young girls would get pregnant at the age of 11, 12, 13, as long as they could see their periods. That's why they were so fond of virgins in the Bible. I keep telling y'all, this story ain't got nothing to do with a sky daddy, man. Nothing. The truth is harsh, and the truth is hard to swallow. Oh, yes, in their religion, it's allowed. That's part of their culture. Okay, it's part of their culture. So when you read the Bible and you hear talking about virgins and all that stuff, man, trust me, they are talking about adolescents, adolescent young girls. That's what their Lord God was taking. Okay, and he even wanted some for himself. Now think about it. What is your Lord up in the sky doing with virgins? What? Okay. Up until 1924, our ancestors were still called American Indians. Okay. It was until 1924, because of the Indian Citizen Act, they made all Indians born in the United States citizens of the United States. You feel me? That's crazy. It was until 1924. And even then, after that, our people were still calling themselves Indians, but they were sending them to jail. They were taking their children. When you go to the hospital and an indigenous woman wanted to give her child an American Indian name, they would threaten her. It's either we're going to take your child or you're going to jail. So they had to give them one of the names of those Europeans. And those European names are not pale people's names. Okay? Those names and surnames that we have, so-called last names, they are not so-called pale people names. They are black nobility named from Europe. I could prove anybody that I'm speaking the truth. Look at your family names and and go find the crest. The crest is or what you call they have the family crest. Okay. Go look at them and see how far they go back. You'll find them going all the way back to Britain. And they'll make you think that those names were pale people. No, they were not pale people. In fact, here's the truth. Those people have the names of the Negroes because the Negro nobility were their masters. Even their names belong to the pale slave masters. See, they got y'all tricked, man. They got y'all tricked. And that's the problem. And then when people like me come tell y'all the truth, y'all want to attack me. That's what y'all want to do. You feel me? But one thing with me is I know who I am. And I know when my ancestors give me information, they give me the facts to prove it. Okay? All right, Heru said, I was trying to figure what gave the authority to discard the treaties. I am thinking it is because they wrote them, but after we signed them, they start to lose land, get a push around reclassification. Well, check this out, right? When it comes to treaties, this is what we have to comprehend, bro. With the treaties, right? The treaties that was signed was signed with the Blackamoors, and not necessarily the Blackamoors, the Sephardic Jews, okay? Because the Moors had lost their power. Some of them, were given, prominent positions. All right. Some of them were given prominent positions, but they were not the main key players because they had lost their power in 1492. Right. So, with that being said, when we are dealing with the treaties, we are actually dealing with the Sephardic Jews. All right. the leaders of the Israelites, the Jacobites, like the Jacobins, i.e. King James, right? So those were the treaties that we got into. A lot of our ancestors, the chiefs and the K6, right? They got into treaties with those so-called black devils that came here. All right. This is how it went down. Now, what happened was when the what you call it, when the pale children started emerging. In other words, the pale children of nobility were the children of these black Sephardic Jews and their concubines. They were taking pale women as their concubines while they were killing and enslaving the pale man. All right, that's what Europe was all about. Europa, okay, was to enrope their children, because when these so-called black women, not American women, so-called black Asiatic women, when they were having these pale babies, they found it strange that they were having pale babies. So those babies were either being killed, or at some point they were being taken into another land that was created called Europe, i.e. Europa, all right, to try to cleanse them, because they considered that to be a disease. So they separated them to try to cleanse them. All right. Now, that's them having sex with their concubines. The Moors were doing the same thing. Okay. So now, if your family is of what we call nobility and you have children, those children are also nobility. So now you are having mulatto children in regards to so-called black and so-called white having children, but it wasn't always the case, right? Now that those children are nobility, they are the heir to the throne. So once they started getting older, they started asking questions. Well, hold up. I see that my mother is so-called white. My father is so-called black. Where is the rest of my mother's family? So the truth had to be told that their fathers were in caves in Europe. So these children got mad and they wanted their fathers or their grandfathers with them. So they started becoming rebellious and they started fighting their so-called black fathers. And that's how this war started happening in Europe between the mulatto children and the so-called black nobility. So they started going to get their so-called grandfathers, the pale man, and bringing them and civilizing them from what's called the Caucasus Mountains. Okay? So they started to become civilized, teaching them the sciences, the arts, whatever the case may be. And that's when, at that point, Isabella, who's a mulatto, and Ferdinand, who's a mulatto, a dark Spaniard, they came together. They married each other and they started fighting their black fathers, the Moors. Now, we're not talking about the Sephardic Jews. That's another set of nobility. Okay? That's another set of nobility. And we're not talking about the learned Jews, which are actually the Semitic Jews, which are the pale Jews, the ones that are calling themselves Israel right now. Okay? Different ethnic groups. So when the Moors lost the war in 1492, those children who were considered Protestants, all Protestant mean is to protest. They were protesting against Islam and they were protesting against Christianity. Okay, so now they came up with a new religion, so to speak, Protestants. And they joined with the Puritans because now they say, okay, you know what? We don't want to be Islam. We don't want to be Christian. We don't want to be this. We don't want to be that. So we are creating a new religion. So you have the Puritans and the Protestants coming together, all right, to fight their fathers on both sides. And they beat the Moors, right? At that point, they gave them an option. Even Moabite women, okay, Moabite women and Jewish women, I'm talking about Sephardic Jews, people of color, they were even killing their daughters, their sons and daughters, because they did not want them to be those new type of Christians. So they were actually killing them. So they expelled a lot of the Moors and a lot of the Jews from Spain, from Europe, all right? And they were going back into North Africa and different places. So then the conversation came up, hold up, there is a new world that y'all don't know about. Now, can we get together in business to go explore? Hence, You had now we starting to have the exploration with Christopher Columbus, who was also a man of color. So when they came into the Americas, they saw people of color. You did. And the people of color welcomed them as brothers. But the more we welcomed them, the more land they wanted. The more we welcomed them, the more of our women they wanted. So they started marrying our women. So they stayed amongst our people for at least a year and a half, learning the language, learning the culture. They realized we had a matriarchal system. So one of the quickest ways to get hold of what we call the aboriginal title, which is the land, was to marry the woman. As soon as they married the woman, they now had a say, and their children would become automatically heirs to the land. And that was happening all over, even when we, going up into England, the Appalachian Mountains, when the Melanesians came in, the French trappers, the Huguenots, they started marrying indigenous women. Okay, so when we coming all the way through the 1400s, the 1500s, the people they were enslaving were American Indians, taking them to Europe, even some of them to Africa, even some of them to East India. And they were taking East Indians into the Americas. So they were kind of switching up, so to speak. Even before one African came into the Americas, all the way up into the 1600s were American Indians as the slaves in the Americas. So now we are talking about just the Spanish rule, okay? We are talking about the Spanish rule. And they divided the Americas into two, Spain and Portugal. All right? But mind you, at that time, Britain, they all related, okay? All the crowns in Europe were all related. Either they were related by blood or they were related by treaty, but they were all related. They were all related. So when the Britons was like, okay, boom, we want a piece of the action, all right? So their target was North America, because North America, nothing was happening there at that time in terms of slavery. So one of the first companies that they created in North America was the Virginia Company. So in 1607, possibly they talk about 1619, but it was 1607 when the 20 so-called black people came here as servants. They did not come here as slaves, and they were not Africans. Okay, they were not Africans. They were actually Hebrews and Moors. In the 20 of them that came here in 1607 or 1609. All right, just as an experiment to see what would happen. And then they met Powhatan, Chief Powhatan, who was also a so-called black man. I already showed y'all that. He was copper colored. So he started doing commerce with them. But once again, these people had this mentality of conquer. So they started infringing on the Virginians. And the original Virginians, once again, are copper colored people. You feel me? So eventually, to consummate one of the treaties, Powhatan gave his daughter to John Rolfe. Okay? She was not kidnapped. It was a covenant. But when she went to England, okay, that means that John Rolfe, now he has what I would say, he has title to Virginia right now. Okay, because now he's the son-in-law of Chief Powhatan. So if Chief Powhatan is a king in our description as saying like a chief is equivalent to a king, then he was the son of a king. He was the son-in-law of a king. But when she went to England, okay, they're talking about she died from this and she died from that. No, she was taken out. She was taken out. So therefore, if she was taken out, then that means her husband would be the only one to the heir. Yes, that was a dumb move by him, brother. But again, it was supposed to be just commerce, just business. You see, he did not foresee. You did. Okay? So now that they took her out, the sole heir now would be the son, which is John Rolfe. So then he came back into the United States, into Virginia, and he became the prince of the Powhatan. And then he was the one who established the trade for tobacco between the North America and what we call Britain. Yes, her children would be the heir as well. And that's why those children, those children were now pale. They were now mulattoes. They were mixed children. And what was happening was, all right, a lot of those children, they were encouraged eventually, instead of marrying into the human family, which is Hueman, they were encouraged to marry into the human, Human family. In other words, not marry into the copper colored, but marry into the pale, the recessive race. So now you're having more of the nobility starting to be what's called whitewashed. You feel me? And that's how the whitewashing continued from the black nobility of England, but yet still, they had to put their children in the forefront. So when you look at it, yes, it's their children that are the gatekeepers, but they are still recognized as the fathers of those children, and that's why they are still up to this day as so-called the black nobility. Even if they are the black nobility, their children are also considered black, which is pale, because black and pale is the same thing. And that's why you realize Virginia is so important. Yes, that's why. Okay, that's why Walter Plecker was in Virginia. We're talking about eugenics and all that. If you go into all the what you call eugenics files in Congress, you'll realize that the so-called Negro, when they started calling us Negro, you'll realize that the so-called Negro was actually the American Indian. Okay? And the same thing happened all over the Americas, in regards to handing over the title of what we call Aboriginal title to these lands. Okay? When you go into the Caribbean, whether it's Jamaica, wherever, you'll realize that a lot of those names, they go back to black nobility. Like you have, for instance, Westmoreland in Jamaica. It is because of the Moors. You feel me? So all the parishes that they have in different parts of the Caribbean, it goes back into Britain. All right, whether it's either from the Moors or it's from the Sephardic Jews, which are the Jacobins or the Jacobites, hence, aka King James, King Charles. Okay? So it was those two major ethnic groups that came together eventually and came into the Americas. So like I said before, when if Plecker was related to John Rolfe, I can't say. I don't know that, for a fact. But one thing I know, a lot of those people were related. Okay, they were either related by blood. That's why all the presidents, they're related by blood. Most of them are Huguenots. All right, most of them are Huguenots. Okay, so there was a transition of the crown. Okay, and Queen Victoria was literally after her. She was kind of like in between, but she was kind of like the first almost all pure, what we call almost so whitewashed or white crown. But before her, you'll see all the mixes with the Charleses. All of them were mixed, meaning that the Germans and the Britons, all right, they were all mixed in their blood, because now it was about the nobility coming together, because the Americas was the newfound wealth. So everybody was marrying so that they themselves could have a piece of the American pie. Okay? And that's why all of them are actually related. Whether it's a German king, whether it's a Spanish king, whether it's a British king or queen, they are all related because they all came together. They intermarried so that they could take possession of the Americas as a whole. All right? And their subjects that they were calling all these names, they started calling our people those names. First, Negro. So they were distinguishing us from the Negro de Guinea, which is the African Negro, and Negro de Terra, which is the Negro of the Americas. That's what they started calling us. In other words, the black people or the dead people of that land, because that's what black and Negro means, dead corpse. So from the inception, and that's how they tricked our people into, on paper, having them call ourselves, or having us call ourselves Negro first, because Negro meant black, it meant dead. And our people did not know these things. All right. That's why they said that the pen is mightier than the sword, because they could not beat us physically. We never lost the physical war, but we lost it on paper. All right. So once we started identifying ourselves as Negroes, that was where we started losing a lot of our rights. And then it went from Negro, not just, it was colored, okay, Negro, colored, black, all these different terms, they mean the same thing, dead in law. That means you are a corpse. And like I told y'all before, it came to an agreement where because of commercial purposes, okay, there was supposed to be three major powers. The three major powers were the Iroquois Confederacy for the American Indians. Okay, the Republic would be shared between the Moors and the Sephardic Jews, all right, the Israelites, okay? And the third power would be the United States for their children, which are the pale people, all right? But what happened was the Republic, which are the Moors and the Jews, the Hebrews, what they did was they joined with their pale children to fight the American Indians. So when the American Indians lost, it was only the Republic and the United States. But the pale man went behind their back and made treaties with the Indians to fight the Republic. You see what I'm saying? So it was a whole lot of backbiting and, backstabbing. And eventually they said, okay, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We are going to run with the Republic. Okay, the Iroquois Confederacy is going to be insolvent. It's not going to be no more, but they could still be part of the Republic. In other words, they could still be sovereign. All right. But then they didn't want that. And when I say they, I'm talking about those so-called black devils. They didn't want that. So they joined with the United States to take away the sovereignty of the indigenous people. All right. And then the pale man was like, you know what? F everybody, man. We want everything for ourselves. And they decided to just give it to their children. They gave it to them. The pale man did not fight for anything. All the fighting was going on between the so-called black people from Europe and the American Indians. That was where the majority of the wars were. And then during the American Revolutionary War, all of them came together and said, you know what? We are going to fight for the freedom now, okay, to free ourselves from Britain. But they did not really win the war. It was, again, an agreement that was made. People think that they won the American Revolutionary War. No. Why do you think we are still paying taxes to the Vatican and the Crown? Because we did not win the war. It was a treaty that was made. A deal was made. Let us stop the bloodshed. Let us tell the people that we won the war. But behind closed doors, we're going to set up what's called the central banking system. And that's how we're going to get our compensation. Let us set up a federal government, all right, which is a corporation, and that's how we're going to get our compensation, all right? So now they decided to put the pale man as what you call the gatekeepers. But behind the pale man is actually the black caucus, which is the black nobility. They have more power than you think they have. They're just allowing the pale man to be the gatekeeper. And behind the black caucus are the real black nobilities that own everything. Well, no, that's not true. Then you have the Semitic Jews, all right, that own the central banks. But behind the Semitic Jews are the real black nobility. They have so much money that literally, if you go into their bank accounts right now, each individual, they have at least 70 zeros behind their money in the bank. You can't touch that. So people don't know how deep this is. You don't know how deep this is, okay? Just again, last week, they sent me another invitation to join the Scottish Rites. Why they want to recruit me so bad? Where did you get my email from? Because they see everything. They know everything. Okay? So that's why I tell people every skin folk and kinfolk, man. So what we have to do now, we as the original indigenous people of the land, we got to come together and we got to summon our ancestors. We cannot get rid of them physically. We can't do that. We have to do it from a spiritual perspective. And that's why they have to keep you distracted. That's why they have to keep your minds occupied. That's why they have to keep you smoking. They have to keep you drinking. I don't care what you're smoking, whether it's cigarette or weed, it don't matter. Okay? They have to keep you smoking. But we have to invoke our ancestors, or we have to invoke our righteous ancestors, because a lot of them sold out. And I'm certainly sure a lot of them already made atonement and repented for the part that they played. Okay? But we have to invoke our ancestors, because these people are doing rituals every day to keep our people dumbed down. Oh, yes, it's our mind. It is all our mind. You see, I tell people like this, the slavery is not physical. The slavery appears to be physical, but it's all mental. The first thing we have to do is let go of their gods. That's the number one. If you cannot let go of their gods, then you cannot be free. Our ancestors will not show up if you keep worshiping their gods. You have to let go of their gods and call on to our ancestors. That's what we got to do. Once we start doing that, that's a major step. We would have already won 80% of the battle. Everything else will just fall into place. You feel me? That's what we have to do. And that's where it's at. So I'm about to get out of here. I hope y'all found some value in this message. Once again, I'm only here to bring the truth and nothing but the truth. And before I go, we have to stop separating ourselves. Okay? Because you think somebody's from South America, or somebody's from Canada, or somebody's from, Central America, or a different part of North America, you don't think they're Americans. The United States is not America. Okay, the United States is not America. The United States is a part of America. And of course, we know the United States is a corporation, but I'm talking about the individual states. And just for the record, the individual states are actually countries. Okay, they are actually countries. So when you hear people, they're telling you that, these people were taken as slaves from a different country. Guess what? They could have been taken from California and brought into Virginia and still considered a different country, because they were different countries. Okay? They were different countries with their own governments. Okay? That's why you have governors. That's why each state have a governor. All they did was they didn't create anything. They didn't recreate anything. All they did was just fill what I call a placeholder. There was a void to be filled, and they got somebody and put in there. We already had our constitutions. We already had our governments. All they did was they took away our authority, take away our governing bodies, and they put governors in there. That's all. But we already had all that. New York was a country. Okay? New York and Jersey was the same country. You feel me? When you're traveling, literally, you could be traveling from one state to the next, and you in one state, and literally 2 minutes later, your GPS is telling you, welcome to another state. What? Because those things are imaginary. They're all imaginary, my brothers and sisters. You feel me? But we got to get back, man. We got to get back to summoning our ancestors and let go of these people's pagan gods, man. We have to let go of their pagan gods, because once you are enslaved spiritually, your body will be enslaved. Your soul will be enslaved, because they got your soul. That's why when they created the birth certificate, you have to put your soul. You have to put one of your souls on that piece of paper, because now they're doing voodoo. They're doing magic. They're doing all type of spells with that piece of paper. You feel me? That's why they had to put your soul on that paper. We have different souls. All right. Your body is filled with thousands of souls. Your heart is a soul. Your lung is a soul. Your right liver is a soul. Your left liver is a soul. You have the sole of your feet. You have the solar plex. Your right eye is a soul. Your left eye is a soul. You see, you don't know that souls are just portals. That's all they are. Souls are just portals. Hence, you have solar energy. They're all portals, and they're souls of they're constructs of light. What I call angles of light. Okay, that's what an angel is, an angle of light. So I'm saying all that to say is they took your soul, especially the one that grounds you to Mama Earth, the sole of your feet, and they put it on that paper, and that is what they're doing their rituals with. So every step that you take, they already have your soul. I'm going to repeat that. Every step that you take, they have your soul. And all you have to do is a spiritual ritual. That's what spirit is. That's what spirituality is. It's rituals of the spirit. You see, people always say things and they don't know what things mean. You feel me? So let me see something. Let me just show you something real quick. I'm going to show you the word spiritual. Okay, let me show you the word spiritual. Look at the word spiritual and tell me, what do you see? Because everything is right in front of your face. It's right in front of your eyes, but a lot of times people are just too blind to see. They don't know how to look at words and see what words are saying. Look at the word spiritual. Okay, what do you see in there? Right? You see the word spiral, you see the word ritual, and you see the word spy, right? Right? So with that being said, spiritual is nothing but a rituals of the spirit. That's all it is. Rituals of the spirit. So we are supposed to be practicing rituals to invoke our ancestors. That's what it means. That's what the word God means. Okay? God means to invoke. Okay? God is an action word, which means to evoke. That's what it means. To pour an invocation. But of course, Christianity took it and make it a word to just to sort of like give the personage of a supreme being. But that's not what it was. The word God means to invoke. So when we're dealing with spirituality, we are dealing with rituals of the spiritual realm. Things that they came and told us were pagan, but yet still they are using it on our people. And our people don't realize that. In the words, in the actions, in magics, in spell, everything that they're doing. Even television, the media is a spell. The media is a form of spirituality. It's a ritual. You don't get that. The churches on every corner is a form of spirituality. It's a ritual, but it's a demonic spiritual ritual. Oh man, I'm not sure if y'all ready for this, man. Well, some of you are. Some of you are. Okay? And that's why you have churches on every corner. It's a ritual to enslave your soul. All right? Your soul, not your spirit, your soul, because the soul moves through the spirit. All right? So it's your soul that's being enslaved. That's what it is. And your soul, it's synonymous with solar array. So you are nothing but a ray of light. I am nothing but a ray of light, just like how the sun have 7 rays. All right. And the 7 rays was responsible for creating each race. All right. But the central sun is the mother, and the 7 rays are her sons. And the sons got the mother impregnated to create ourselves. That's what we did. And then we have been living on this earth for millions of years until there was a shadow that was formed. And that shadow was the moon. And from the moon, a god arose and created the lunar beings, which are actually mankind or humankind. Human and not Hueman. Hueman are the solar beings. Human are the lunar beings, the recessive race. But they are just our lower selves, a lower vibration of the solar rays. That's all it is, because the moon doesn't have its own light. So it gets its light from the reflection of the sun. So therefore, when it reflects in the sun, the ray, now the moon has its own rays, but it's a shadow ray. Okay, shadow beings came from the moon. So they are a reflection of us, the solar beings. They are lunar beings. In other words, they are our lower selves. But that's a whole different science. You feel me? So, man, whew, I hope I didn't give y'all too much, man. because it can get a little bit complicated to some people who just won't get it, right? But a lot of you have been doing enough studying, so you got this. You got this, all right? So you got this. But I love y'all, man. And like I said, as the original indigenous people, all right, we have to come together. And we are not at war with Africans. We are not at war with anybody, right? We are at war with ourselves. You feel me? And when I say with ourselves, it's because it's within our own words and our own thoughts that we're enslaving ourselves. All right. So with that being said, we have to get to know ourselves, get to know your soul. And when you get to know your soul, each of us, like I said before, each of us have what's called guardian soul angels. All right. Some of us have one, some of us have many, right? But each individual has at least one soul guardian. Each individual have at least one soul guardian, right? We are supposed to have a minimum of two, which are actually our parents. But they were not supposed to be parents. They were supposed to be guides. A guide is different from a parent. A parent is from a slave perspective. You do what I say. Oh, it's not what it is. You're going to listen. That's a parent. A guide now is to help you harness your inner abilities. Okay, because each and every one of us, we have innate powers within us. So our parents were supposed to be guides to help us, okay, harness our inner powers to fulfill our greatest self. That's what a guide is. But they turn our guides into parents who are now acting as totalitarians. You feel me? Telling you what to do. So in other words, they put parents on earth, or they created the ideology of a parent to convert you. But we were not supposed to be converted. Okay? We were not supposed to be converted because we came here already fully loaded. All our parents, all our guardians had to do is help us develop our strength, our powers, our innate powers. In other words, teach us telepathy, help us develop our telepathy. It's already in us, but help us develop our telepathy. Help us develop our clairvoyance. Help us develop our telekinesis. All those things. That was their job. But if they don't know what their job were, or they themselves were not taught, how can they teach you? All right? And that's the problem. So they created schools. They created schools where they took you out of the universe, right? And they created universities, because that's where the first school was, the universe, right? And they took us away from that, and they created universities, right? Because that's where the word university came from universe, and that was the first teaching school. All right, we were taught from the universe, from things in nature. Okay, and they took the nature out of the universe and created universities. And from the universities, they started creating slaves because they took you away from the cosmos, the teaching of the cosmos, the teaching of the nature. And from universities, they started creating, even start dumbing it down a little more. They started creating schools, colleges. And now they put everybody in uniform. And they start putting you in uniform, then you started getting a check to keep you in check. So it's a whole lot, man. It's a whole lot. But anyway, like I said, man, to free yourself, you got to free your mind. So if you want to continue being a slave, it's mental. All right. You got to stop calling yourself Black, Negro, African American, all these things. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you're an African. There's nothing wrong if you're a European. There's nothing wrong if you're Asian. If that's who you are, be that. All right. But if you're an American Aboriginal, then we got to stop calling ourselves these names. This is who we are. We are Americans, and let's identify as that. And we have to make the claim, and we have to state it, that there is no American on the planet except us. Period. These pale people are not Americans. These native United States citizens, they're not Americans. Okay, they're not. There's only one American, and that's the American Aboriginal. That's it. You cannot be some of this. No, it's either you are or you are not. Now, if you have conclusive, genealogical evidence and proof that your ancestors came from somewhere else, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we, as the original people of the land, we have to step up and stand up and reclaim our birthright. And the only way we are going to do that, we have to start calling on to our ancestors. We have to start getting into spirituality. Once again, what is spirituality? Spirit rituals. We have to get into that. We have to get back into the magic. We have to get back into that to combat those magic and spells that are working against us. You cannot be fighting physical things with spiritual things. That's insane. Okay? Remember, we have to, what they say, you're going to be fighting spiritual principalities and powers. So picking up a gun and a knife, you know that you're going to lose that battle because it's not physical. Okay? There are rituals that's being done through the spirit. So we have to reach out into the spirit realm. Okay? And we have to combat those magic spells. So we need all our spiritual brothers and sisters, all right, that know the rituals. And then we have to come together. Those are the people I want to come together with, not just people who claim to be spiritual. Now, you don't know what the hell that means. Okay? And that's it. So y'all have great continuation and continue to love, man. All right. We'll talk soon. Take care.